Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. If you can just kindly in the chat, just first of all, just tell me if you can hear me. I got a message saying that I was muted even though it wasn't muted. So I just want to make sure that you can hear me okay. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much, Patrick, and welcome. So thank you for confirming that. If you can't hear me, just mention in the chat, but glad it's working. So again, good afternoon, good morning. I'm calling in here from Toronto, Canada. Please share where you're from. I'd love to hear where you're dialing in from. And as you do that, we're going to wait for some people to join in. Hi, Adam from Quebec. Welcome, Florida. Patrick, that's so nice. I love Clearwater. I've been there many times. So beautiful. One of the best beaches I've ever seen. Nice, Teresa. Hi, welcome from Portland. Scottsdale. Oh, we're bringing another Canadian here from Alberta. Welcome. Thank you for joining, Tracy. Oh, another Canadian, Catherine from Vancouver. So it's still morning for you, so good morning. I hope you're all having some nice weather today. It's beautiful here, very hot. Hope it's not too bad where you are, Patrick. I know summers in Florida can get pretty brutal. I'm just going to give a couple minutes before we get started, but it's so lovely to see everybody today. Just a quick introduction to myself. If we've never met, my name is Rebecca Rose. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Studeo. We're based in Toronto, Canada, but we service all over North America. And it's a real pleasure to be here to talk about this today. I hope everyone's had some downtime, taken some time for vacation, are now kind of starting to think about the fall market. I know it wasn't a perfect spring market. A lot of people didn't quite get the spring market they were hoping for, but now is an opportunity to start prepping for the fall and see if we can make a difference. Thank you, Teresa. A few housekeeping notes. Please enter your questions in the comments. I won't answer them probably in the moment, but at the end, there will be an opportunity for questions, and I will try and answer all of them at the end of the presentation. Yeah, we are indeed Canadian, completely Canadian company. But we do, like I said, service all of North America. We've experienced both in Canadian markets and US markets. We've been around for, my goodness, 12 years. So it's our pleasure to host today and share with you everything that we've learned and how we might be able to help. Okay. Seeing a couple more people trickle in. Christopher, thank you for joining us. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today. Just let us know where you're from, get a sense where everyone's coming from. It looks like we've got a few fellow Canadians here, some people from Florida. Okay, and just to reintroduce myself, I am Rebecca Rose, the CEO and co-founder of Studeo, and it's my pleasure to host today's webinar. Okay, so I think we're going to get started. So the topic of today is about winning more listings. So these are proven strategies to help you dominate and overtake competitors. And I'm going to get started. Here we go. So on the agenda today, I'll give you a brief introduction of who we are and what we do. But ultimately, this is about talking about you and how you can level up what you're doing to create more differentiation, be able to stand out, and be more competitive in your market so that ultimately you win more listings and you can surpass the ceiling, the revenue ceiling that you find yourself in. So we'll be talking about the problem, at its core, what we call the real estate revenue engine, which is kind of just a model about how your business works. And then we're going to talk about how you can influence different aspects of your business to increase the volume of listings that you can win. So if you are, right now is perfect time to have this conversation. It gives you time to prep for the fall market. So you're going in kind of all ready to go with something new and exciting and new way of thinking so that you can tackle the fall market from a completely different approach. So I'm not going to talk too much about me, but as I mentioned, I am the CEO and co-founder of the world's first and only interactive storytelling platform for the real estate industry. I've had over 15 years of strategic marketing leadership. I worked in market research and brand strategy and digital media prior to starting this company with my co-founders many, many years ago. So full disclosure, we did not come from real estate. We actually came from the marketing world and saw there was an opportunity to apply things that were making big companies very rich into an industry that wasn't applying those ideas. And that's really where the business started. We've been recognized by Inman, featured by Inman, Resas, Real Trends, TechCrunch. So feel free to go to our website, studio.ai, check us out. But really what we're here to do is help agents and brokerages grow their revenue. We work with mostly top producers. This is all about people who are fully invested in their business, who've got some infrastructure, they have a proper business set up, and they're looking to level up and really break that through the ceiling that often they get stuck in when they're against kind of 2 or 3 main competitors in their market. They really need something that separates them and starts winning more. We create something called Storybooks. This is a content platform and you can use storybooks to enhance your listings, create neighborhood content, lifestyle content, and we've got thousands of users on our platform. I'm going to give you a quick example of what a storybook is, just so you have in your mind what I'm talking about. Storybook is just a way of packaging the information you're already creating for your business in a new way. And what we do to package it, we use storytelling as a way to, and editorial design, like a magazine that's interactive, to bring that content to life, make it more human, more emotive, because at the end of the day, when you want to stand out and convince your sellers that you've got something different, you need to show them that you've got something different to show their buyers. That's going to make them fall in love, increase demand, because the more you're emotionally committed to something, the more likely you're going to be committed. More people are going to come in. You're going to get more people raising their hand saying, I want to bid on this property. That's really what drives the price up. So the more you can influence how people feel, that's really where the magic comes in. And that's ultimately what a storybook is all about. So let's talk about you, because the real problem here, and it doesn't actually matter whether you're just getting started in the business or whether you're a top producer, this is a business industry-wide problem, which is you've got this invisible service. And you've got ways in which you can, communicate out into your audience, whether it's in a listing presentation or through referrals or on social, which is, you've got your reviews, here are my listings, here's some market information, I'm an expert. But the problem is that everybody's doing the same thing. And so it's really, really difficult for sellers to tell the difference between one agent that looks great and another agent looks great. I recently saw in some conversations online where an agent was saying, I usually win listings, and I had a referral, when I get a referral, and I thought it went really well, and I don't know why I didn't get it. And I asked for feedback, and they said it was a really tough choice, but we went with someone else. And then someone else responded in that conversation, well, I've heard that, sometimes sellers, they had 3 great listing presentations, they put everyone's business cards in a jar and they pulled one out and that's who they worked with. And the only reason a situation like that would happen is because they can't tell the difference. Everyone came in with a, great personality, very personable, everyone was doing, high quality photography, gave a good presentation, and they didn't know who to pick. And so there was nothing that was being pitched or presented or shown online that set that person apart. So it made it very difficult for that seller to make a decision. And so often we also see, agents losing listings to less experienced agents, largely because if somebody happens to know that person, maybe it's my sister, maybe it's my cousin, all of a sudden nepotism is involved. Well, you might be better, but I trust this person more because I know them. And that should never happen, because if you are actually better at what you do, you've got more experience, you understand their market better, you've got to have a way of communicating that so that it doesn't resort to, well, whoever will give me the best deal, or who have I known the longest. And that's really what we're here to talk about. This is what we call at Studeo is the real estate revenue engine. And this is really how, just a quick model on how your business works, right? You need to attract leads your way. You need people who are in the space to move. They're in that place in their life where they're in a 90-day, 120-day window from, I need to make a change in my life. You need to win that client over. There's competition. You then you won them. You need to sell that listing, close the deal relatively fast at volume so that you're making enough money. And then you want to then engage your networks and grow those networks in your community so that you have more people to talk to, so that you can attract more people into that sales funnel so that you can get more presentations and you get more listings. That's ultimately how it works. And it's simple, but it's not easy. And you all know that it's not easy. And there's a lot of moments in here where you can have an impact if you do something a little bit different. So the first thing, like if you're here and this is something you really want to change in your business, I've done everything I know how to do, and I've kind of hit the ceiling, and I don't know where to take it from here. I'm going to give you some insights on how maybe you can think about things a little bit differently. So first of all, anyone in your database, in your sphere of influence, following you on social media, if you aggregate that entire audience together, only 2% on average across the whole year are going to be ready to move. And so just think about that for a moment. So if you've got a database of 2,000 people, and maybe you've got a total of 2,000 people, okay, in between your database, your sphere of influence, and people following you on social. Only about 40 people in this network in totality for the whole year are going to be ready to move. And obviously they're not all going to come to you, right? And so there's two things that really influence this. One is how do you activate those people so that they're constantly in some sort of relationship with you. It may not be a personal relationship, could be a brand relationship, which means that they're aware that you exist and you're top of mind ever so often. But you're never going to get all 40 of them. And so what's going to matter is how do you activate them, but also how do you grow that network, that in the sphere of it's your fear, the sphere of network that you have, not just your sphere of influence. Because if you're limiting yourself to your sphere of influence, that has a cap. There's only so many people you're going to know. There's so many people that are going to be able to make a referral to you. If you want to grow beyond that, you need to be able to communicate to more people. So it's a really twofold problem, but let's just start with activation. Because if you've got a database right now, you got your sphere of influence, if you've got a social media following, that's where you can start right now and starting to get in front of people, starting conversations, getting them aware of you. So the question is, how are you engaging with your network? And realize that there's different people at different stages in your network. Let's say that there's 40 people in that entire network that this year alone in 2025 or in the next 12 months are going to be ready to move. Not everybody's in the same place in their seller journey. So some people might be a year out, some people might be 6 months out, some people might be ready in the next 2 months. And so your challenge is because you don't know where they are in their seller journey or their buying journey. Communicating different messages frequently will kind of address different people in those audiences. And so hopefully you keep warming them up over time, they will be ready to move, and they're going to want to converse and have a conversation with you. So if somebody, for example, is ready to move right now, you want to send out content that's relevant to moving. And so you do want to send out that content. And it's not just about market data. You want to send out content that is relevant to the real estate experience. How do you prepare your home for sale? How do you make sure that you've got curb appeal? What would be the most lucrative renovations you can make that will deliver the biggest ROI? That is content that people in advance of moving would really love to know, even if they're not ready to raise their hand and say, I'm ready to work with an agent just yet. But it gets the relationship going. And so think about the channels of communication you have right now. Some people are really good on email, they're sending newsletters, maybe they're sending out regular content. Some people are posting on social or running ads. And a lot of you are doing direct mail, right? You're sending postcards to the mail to zip codes. But think about the kind of content. What are you saying when you're sending that out? Because you want to hit as many people at where they're at. You've got to make it as relevant, useful, and interesting as you possibly can for them to actually consume the content, stick with it, be engaged with it, and then even act on the CTA, the call to action. And the call to action doesn't necessarily have to be contact me if you want to move or you're ready to sell. Call to action can be follow me on social, join my mailing list. Do you want to receive emails from me? That will help you expand your database. But let me show you some different kinds of content, because I know that you're familiar with market-specific content, you're familiar with these homes sold recently kind of content. But if somebody is in a new stage of life, that is someone who's likely to be considering moving. And so you can address that. Say, I understand you. And so you meet them where they're at. This is an example. I showed you what storybooks are. This is an example of how to use storybooks to meet them where they're at, to provide relevant content that's important for somebody at a particular life stage for them to consider and to think about, either for their children or for them. This is just an example of one stage of life where somebody might downsize and be thinking of moving into a different situation. And so this is a way to think about content where you're engaging people, it's branded to you, and you can encourage people to respond and start a conversation. They may not be ready for 6 months, but you want to make sure that you're developing that relationship 6 months prior to them being ready than a competitor. Here's another example of, it's going to load. I'm not sure why it's not loading. Let's try this one. Might just be my computer. Oh, there we go. This is just lifestyle content. Summertime, engaging people with something that they find interesting, relevant, useful. This is a recipe storybook. Again, an example of kind of lifestyle content that you can engage people with. We hear so many stories from our customers where they're like, I would used to send out content to my database and I wouldn't get a response. I was just happy if I saw open rates. And then all of a sudden they're sending out content like this that's beautiful and interactive, it's animated, and people are responding back going, oh my God, this was amazing. Thank you so much for sending it. Now you have an opportunity to respond back, to start a conversation. How have you been doing? It's been a couple of years since we chatted, curious about what's going on in your life. Now you're developing a relationship. And so that's the whole purpose here. That's the underlying goal of content marketing. Did this link, was it just me? No, it didn't work. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. I did have another example here. Okay, so next, you're engaging people in conversation. People are like, okay, I'm ready. I'm interested in a meeting. But realize, and you all know this, very few people only meet with one agent. A lot of times people are even deciding, even before they talk to you, they're looking people up online. But here you've established a conversation. So they're looking you up online, but they want to talk to you. So you want to make sure that you're always leading with value. Like I said, something relevant, interesting, useful, right? So even though you want to inject yourself in there because you want to put your best foot forward, you want to make sure that that content is it's more of a soft sell. You're orienting it to stuff that they care about and also demonstrating your expertise. This is an example of a kind of storybook that our customers use, which is what we call a community book, which is focusing in on the community that you have expertise in, that you're farming, that you want to communicate to everybody that I know this community better than anybody, and this is what I love about it. This is my commitment to it. These are my favorite spots. Demonstrating your local expertise, and then giving kind of that soft pitch at the end about your commitment and who you're here to service. This does have some audio on it. So you can see this is a wonderful way in which you can put yourself forward. Often our customers, what they do is they put content like this in advance of the meeting, and it's called priming. So you can prime that person to prefer you even before you get to the meeting, right? You want to use every opportunity you can to put yourself ahead of the other people they're meeting with that you can. But I also see this being used on business cards, QR codes, putting it on their business card, linking it to the postcards that are sent out to the community. So if you are sending out a postcard run, don't let it just be print. Have a URL, have a QR code saying, learn more about my commitment to your community, learn more about my expertise. This is a little bit more than they can go to. And then you have a CTA on the storybook to say, follow me on social, join my newsletter. I'll communicate with you on a regular basis. Let's stay in touch, right? You want to make sure that you're keeping in touch and keeping that flow of relationship going, no matter what stage they're at, no matter whether you start with print or they're coming to you online. Wherever their starting point is, you want to keep them moving. So, but stage two, like priming, is so important, and I see it work every single time. Stage three, when you get to the meeting, right, you want to make sure that your listing presentation gives the same wow as the car you drive up in the driveway. As so many people put so much effort into how they're presenting themselves, with how they're dressed, how they present themselves with the car they drive. And then I see the presentation they come in to that listing presentation with, and it's not designed well. It's all text. There's nothing, it's so much information, and really less is more. And what you're really there to do is make that seller feel something. You want to show off your portfolio of previous listings and how you do them differently. You want to go in and say, look, I'm a realtor, storyteller. I'm not just here to sell a property. I'm here to sell your home, the lifestyle connected to it, the lifestyle connected to this entire community, and to match that to the reason why somebody is moving. And that's really what's going to get the buyer buy-in, what's going to make them fall in love with your particular home, and how we're going to get more people interested. And so really you're pitching, if you pitch story selling and saying, I'm here to tell a story here. I'm not just here to put a listing on MLS and bedrooms and baths and square footage. I'm here to talk about the lifestyle. That's going to be so differentiated compared to what your competitors are going to be saying. That is really, you're going to have a completely different conversation. And so you want to walk away from that listing presentation with that seller feeling just blown away. This is an example of what we call a shelf, which shelves different storybooks that we offer our clients for their listing presentations. And so we make it really easy to do this. But again, if you're doing this on your own, the way in which you think about this, the content you're creating, is again making it interesting, valuable, in terms of making it relevant to that person in the stage that they're at. So if you're going in, you say, look, I've already prepared content for you on how we're going to actually boost your home's value with storytelling, how we're going to host a successful open house, how you should think about staging your home. Even if they're not investing in professional staging, here's how we're going to declutter and why we're going to do it. Here's all the things. Here's examples of previous listings we've done and how we approached it differently than you're going to see other realtors do. That is the pitch you bring in, and you want to bring it in with visual evidence, right? Make it as visual as you possibly can, because like I said at the beginning, you're in this invisible business. You need to show somehow why you're different, why you're an expert. And it's really hard to do that unless you've got really powerful content to back you up. The next stage here is using, when you win that listing and you're promoting it, using that as an opportunity subtly to promote yourself as well. It is the best opportunity to win more listings when you have a listing right now. And I've heard so many stories about how businesses got launched. I just got one listing and then I got 3 or 4 more from that listing. But if you want to understand why it's so powerful to have a listing right now to promote yourself, if you look at this graph on the right in the center there, that's your sphere of influence, right? That's how many people you know closely, intimately, that you can go to them, you speak to them on a regular basis, they know who you are, they know you as a person, and you can say, like, send me, did you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell? Could you refer them to me? This is your database next. And so having a database and having people in your CRM expands the size of the audience of people you can communicate with. And then if you've got a social media following, and the more channels you have on social media, this grows. But Facebook, X, Instagram, that again expands the number of people you can speak to. The biggest challenge with this organic social is that they're not always within your target customer. They're not always going to be necessarily the people living in the neighborhoods that you're trying to target, but those people, when you draw them in, are going to come and check you out also on social media. But then when you have a listing and you've posted it, it's posted in the syndication, you also tap into your buyer networks, your seller networks. You get so much more visibility, especially if you've got incredible content around your listings that your seller then shares, that you can then start sending out, and other people send it out on your behalf because you've done something that everyone's wowed by. All of a sudden you're tapping into networks that you don't normally have access to when it's just you. But here you've got this listing that's out into the world and people are sharing it, and it expands the size of the audience who are paying attention to what you do and how you do it. And so a lot of times I hear agents, well, I'm going to do it for my luxury listings, not going to do it for regular listings. I'm like, honestly, you don't know who's watching. We're in the digital age, right? You don't know when somebody who's got, if you're selling a $200,000 condo that doesn't have an uncle with a $2 million property, where that seller posted it on their social networks, and all of a sudden their uncle sees what you did and went, oh my goodness, that's way better than what I'm seeing other agents in my area do. Can you put me in touch with that person? And so you never, your ad, everything you do for your listings is an ad for you. And so making sure that you're getting maximum distribution, that you're really paying attention to the distribution of your listing, but also how are you packaging that listing? Are you telling a great story? Is it creating the wow factor so that you're maximizing your opportunity when you've got maximum visibility? And so now the next stage of this is, how do you get more people to follow you? How do you get more people in your database? And the goal of this activity, the primary goal, isn't to win more listings, even though that is the ultimate outcome. The goal of this primary activity is getting more people to follow, more people to talk to, more people that when they are in the state of ready to buy or sell, you've been communicating with, and they're going to remember who you are and remember your expertise and already have good feelings about you, so that you are now in their sphere of consideration. And so this is really where getting out into the world really helps. Attending events, and capturing those events as content that you can put out in the world to become that hyper-local expert, and that you are the place that people come to experience hyper-local content. Creating school guides, interviewing business owners, and instead of going into a local business and say, here's my business card, if you know anybody that's buying and selling, can you give me a referral? It's saying, I want to feature you. I'm here to help promote the neighborhood, to increase the value of this neighborhood, to bring you more business, because the more traffic this community has, the more the value of this community has, the more the value the homes have. So I'm going to invest in content uplifting this neighborhood. I'd love to feature you. Is that okay with you? Ask them if it's okay to come in and take some pictures, create a storybook about that community. Goes a long way. You're adding value to them, and now you can tap into their networks. Now you have a storybook that you can give to them. You have content you can give to them to then post on their social feeds, post and give away and put on QR codes and their print collateral that they're putting out, and you're being promoted because it's your content, your branding. And it's a really powerful strategy if you're willing to go out in the world and make those connections and create that content. But then you're inviting people in to join your networks. Follow me on social. Sign up for my newsletter. Sign up and allow me to email, say, consent to me emailing you on a regular basis with valuable content. That's really the goal here, because you can turn that 2,000 to 4,000 into 10,000. Now you've got access to 500 people that you can communicate with on a regular basis, that could be moving, that 2% that could be moving this year, right? That 2% that is going to raise their hand and say, yes, I'm looking to move. You want to increase the number of people that you can speak to so that 2%, that number, the hard number, goes up. So I have a poll for everyone here. Please participate. What do you find most difficult in your business for you and your team? Is it the activation of your network, getting in front of that 2% that's in your database or following you on social or in your sphere of influence, just activating them and getting them talking to you and not someone else? Is it winning the meeting, or once you get into the meeting, winning the listing, or even just increasing your network, increasing your sphere of influence, increasing the network that in your database, increasing your social network? I'd love to hear from you. I'll give you a moment. Appreciate everyone. And if you don't see it, it's in the bottom right in the application. You'll see polls. If you can just answer that, that would be great. Some people are answering. So some people are having some issues growing their database. So really that's about creating content, inviting people into your network. Other people are about activation. So that's getting in front of the people in your network who are going to be moving in the next 12 months, that you want to make sure that they're talking to you when they're ready. And winning the listing, like having something different going into that listing presentation. It's so important. So it seems like different people have different issues, but it sounds like increasing your sphere of influence is a really big one. It makes a lot of sense. That's actually the hardest of them all. So to wrap up, just an overview. You need to win listings now. Start with looking for new ways to activate potential sellers. Make sure you're priming the meeting when you get it. Those meetings are gold. They are your opportunity. So don't just walk into the meeting. Make sure that you're priming it, sending relevant, useful, interesting content in advance, putting your best foot forward, showing them why you're different immediately out of the gate. Stand out from competitors, obviously, when you go into that meeting. This is why customers love Studeo, because creating visual standing storybooks makes that story selling pitch easy. We're the ones here to create the work and give you the opportunity to create that content so that it's easy to post in email, or like send out emails. It's easy to post on social. We even have a service layer that we just automated all for you. We'll create that content that you can bring into your listing presentations. We have the ability to help you create hyper-local content without having to hire a photographer. We've got really powerful AI engines, behind the Studio platform that actually helps you create really amazing hyper-local content kind of very quickly without all the effort of a photographer. And a lot of that content that you're seeing, we pre-create that for you, so it's just ready for you to go with your branding. So I'm happy to answer questions. If this is something you're interested in talking to us more about, I'd be excited to have you connect with our team and ask more one-on-one questions about your specific business. But I'm going to look here now in the chat here. So okay, so my postcards haven't been as fruitful today. A QR code that leads to something like this is a great idea. Yeah, I mean, it's just a simple thing, right? Excuse me. Is, if you're just sending out print, it's really hard to track, and you're asking people to contact you, but they may not be in a state, they're not in their lives ready to move yet. You don't want to lose the opportunity. They might be interested in some sort of relationship, just not that level of commitment yet. Why not offer them more content that they can view online? Why not offer them the opportunity to follow you? You say you love this content, why don't you follow me on social? If you love this content, join my email list. That means that you get them in, you have opportunities to talk to them ongoing, and so that when they are ready to move, you've got an opportunity to build that relationship with them. Otherwise, they just go because they're not in that 90-day window. If you're only going after people in the 98-day window, there's a huge opportunity that you're missing out on bringing people into your sphere that you can talk to later on. Patrick says, winning the listing. We'll get to see some examples of listing presentation using your product. We do have examples. I didn't have any in this presentation, but please book a meeting with us. We will show you lots of examples. And we do have an interactive listing presentation product within the Studio offering that brings in the same storytelling interactivity that you see in the storybooks as well. Who usually pays for staging? We don't do the staging, but here are the staging options that I've seen. Usually I see it's the seller that pays for it, but I have seen agents who competitively offer staging as part of their service and get really good at that. If it's out of budget, the digital staging options today are actually quite advanced. So as long as you are explicitly stating that this is virtually staged, and you can actually show the empty room and also the staged room within like a studio slideshow. I see a lot of examples of that. Staging makes a big difference. So even if you can't do physical staging, just make sure that the house has been cleaned up, decluttered, depersonalized, and if the seller's contents are still in there. If it's empty, then at least do virtual staging, because it makes such a big difference in just having empty rooms, for sure. Okay, awesome, Patrick. We'd be very excited to show you everything that you'd like to learn about that. Any other questions? Okay, awesome, Jesse. So great to hear that. Rahul, can your team help us create the listing presentation? We actually have a template that's pre-filled, a lot of content in there, and then you have the opportunity to bring in your own content in just those areas. We do have a lot of AI infused in the platform, especially around your listing content, and also around creating general content. We're going to be launching in the next couple of months a way in which you'll be able to also do this for listing presentation, so it's a lot faster. But at the moment, we've got kind of more templates set up so that already have content in there that you can then tweak. So we do most of the work for you, but there is a little bit to personalize it. But for your listings, it's completely automated, which is really where the frequency of effort comes in. but it is worth doing it on the listing presentations because they're so powerful. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It was a real pleasure to host this for you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your wonderful summer day. And I hope that this was a valuable presentation for you so that you can start investing into the fall market, preparing yourself so that you can go in there with a new level of competitiveness that you didn't have before. Please see the link in the chat if you're interested in connecting. And yes, this was recorded and will be sent out.